and Miracle Grow on your potential as a coach. As you're making it into the room, here's what I would love for you to do. Go ahead and jump in the comments. Tell us where you're joining us from, one thing that you're excited about that you feel life and momentum on. We love to interact with you, so it's always the way that we start out in a positive manner, as though this thing's not going to be positive or something. Anyway, go ahead and start throwing that into the comments. Let me know that you are here. I'm just going to do a double check just to make sure that I believe that we're all good and that you guys can see me all right. But just want to be doubly sure that you guys can see me over here, only because I haven't seen any comments pop up yet. But sometimes there's actually about a 30-second minute delay from us going live, and yeah, we're live. Very cool. There's Chris joining us from Vancouver. Good morning, Chris. Anybody else? Where are you joining us from? What are you excited about? What do you feel life and momentum on this morning? There's Todd joining us from Kansas City. Super stoked. This is a pandemic-proof business. You are correct, Todd. Amira from Connecticut, welcome. Anybody else? Just go ahead and start throwing in your comments where you're joining us from, one thing that you're excited about today that you feel life and momentum on. I have my sleeves rolled up today because we're really going to dive in, and I'm very excited about what we're talking about. But I want to hear from you just really before we start. Eddie's joining us from, what's up, man? Just found out someone watching my videos is interested in going through your program to become a coach. Cool. That's awesome. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Where are you joining us from? What are you excited about today? And here's what we've been for the last couple of weeks. We've been doing a mini series. This is the third week. I think this is probably going to be the final week unless something else comes up. But we're talking about taking control when it's uncertain. And right now, not for everybody, because I know the world's kind of like coming back together and people are doing things, people are working and all of that other stuff. But the reality is that this has been kind of a global pause for a lot of people. And there's Bill joining us from Texas. He says, great day in Texas to maximize potential. Absolutely. And so if you look back, and there's a couple of other videos that we did previously, I'm not going to recap all of those other kinds of things, but really right now is the time. This is the season to look at what you're doing in life and look at what you really want and what's the gap in between that, and actually close that gap between what you want and what you have currently. A lot of people have done that during those times. Airbnb started up as a response to what was going on in the recession years ago. What are they now? They are the largest hotel chain that does not own a hotel. Uber started out during the recession. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, you would have thought it was weird. Only strange people get into the cars with strangers. This is what your mom told you your whole life. What did they do? They disrupted the market. The number one, the largest taxi service in the world does not actually own any of its vehicles, and it's employed millions of people. And so what people did is that they looked at the moment that they were in and they asked the questions, what is the opportunity right now? What could happen right now? What could be true about my life right now that could not be true in any other time, in any other season before now? And that's what we're really talking about during this series. Let's say hi to a couple more people that I see coming in here. One from Vancouver, welcome. Elizabeth joining us from New Jersey. I just signed up for your program. Excited to begin. Thanks to Eddie. Thank you. Appreciate that. Kim joining us from Cincinnati. And Shanice is joining us from New York. So how do we actually maximize potential? Because here's the thing, is that obviously there's been a lot of talk about potential from different people, different sources, and everything else. And honestly, though, is that as much as people have talked about potential, all of us who are sitting here right now are probably saying, I'm probably living into a fraction of my potential. Like, I just want to ask you guys, even on the chat right now, what percentage of your potential do you believe that you are living into right now? Like right now, is what you are living into, what you know, and we're talking about talents, abilities, income producing possibility, all of that stuff. Where are you living right now? And of what percentage have you maximized your talents, your skills, your abilities, your influence, your relationships, because it's not just simply income. We're talking about everything in your life. To what degree do you think that you have maximized your potential right now? What percentage do you think that that is? Go ahead and start throwing that in there. And Bill says, can you lose the banner from the bottom of the screen? Yeah, I will in just a second. What percentage do you believe? I want you to start throwing in your percentages right now, because I want to see where you guys are, and I want to show you how to get to a higher percentage. We'd love to see you maximize that, but I'd love for you to throw it in there. Now, I'm going to hide the little lower thirds on behalf of you guys, because I realized that I started drawing and it was covering it. Right here, what I'm gonna show you is how all potential is manifested currently. And Chris says I am at 25% maximized. Crystal says, honestly, about 50%. Adrienne, 50%. This is really awesome. And here's why. Because if you were telling me right now that I'm at 100%, I'm at 90%, I'm at 80%, I'm at 75%, it sounds like you probably aren't even close to where you need to be. And so when I see people who are coming out with these crazy high percentages, because I mean, the reality is that you're dealing with everybody's belief about that. If the reality is that what that means is that if you get to like 80, 100% or something like that, 80, 90%, there's not much more growth for you to have. And it may be, actually, if you're at that percentage and you aren't fully realized that I would say that probably there's a belief system that's in the way that needs to be confronted. So when we talk about maximizing potential, and I would say not just maximizing potential, but when we talk about what you want, what you really want in your life, or if you could say yourself fully manifested, how we get there, the people who are at a very low degree of living into their potential and people who are at a high degree living into their potential, what I am going to show you really quickly is a pattern, a cycle that everybody lives in, like everybody, like the people who are crushing it and the people who are really struggling. They all have this pattern have this same pattern, this same cycle that's flowing in their life. What I'm going to when I show it to you, you're going to have the ability to manipulate the cycle to be able to maximize your potential in the future. But what is that? So right now, every one of you, if you say that I'm living at 50%, some of you said 60%, all 25%. I saw some of those numbers that are on there. For those of you who are living into that, if it's 25% potential or whatever, this pattern is going to reveal why that's the case and what you can do about it. So when we have this cycle, though, is 3 parts. That's why I went ahead and created this little triangle to make it really simple for you. Really, when it comes to this cycle that we see here of someone having potential, what we would say is that everyone is taking action on a certain level. So when you guys said, hey, when I said, are you living into your potential? What you were probably saying is, I can look at my talents and my abilities and my skills and everything, and I know that I'm not taking action. I haven't maximized the skills. I haven't taken the kind of action in my life that is possible. That's where you measured it. We do the same thing in sports. Last night, I stayed up till about 4 o'clock in the morning watching The Last Dance. It's this documentary that was done on the championship Bulls, and it was phenomenal. It was 10 parts. Watched the last 2 until like 4 o'clock this morning. I was a huge Michael Jordan fan. And what everybody thought about Michael Jordan in general, like by today's standards, we're always trying to compare Michael Jordan. He's the standard. And we're trying to compare not just basketball players, but professional athletes to Michael Jordan. And a lot of times people are like, well, Michael Jordan just had extraordinary athletic ability and extraordinary skill. But here's the reality. In the 100 years of basketball, is Jordan really the only person who has been a physical specimen? No, there's actually been people who are better athletes and better physically than Michael Jordan was. Could jump higher, all those other kinds of things. Was Michael Jordan the best shooter in the game? And he wasn't. There's plenty of people who are better shooters. And actually, if you look at his stats, there were people who had better stats than him overall. So if we go down the line, what we'd really say is that what Jordan did on the court and what he did every day that made him the greatest was not because he was the best down the line in every kind of category. Like for us, it's not simply taking action because we have skills and ability. What we would say is that people who step on the court, and sorry for all of the basketball illustrations because I'm excited because I watched that last night. There's a lot of people that play a sport or they do something in business, they do something in any part of life, and you would say that there was something, they had the potential of becoming something. They were just as talented, they were just as well spoken, they were just as smart, any of those things. We could go down the list and we can find someone who is exceptional in one area because it's not simply about taking action. Some of you think if I just took more action, that would give me the results that I want and I would be fully manifested, but it's not just that. When people take action, this is the way that this thing rolls. When people take action, what it does create are results, right? So it's very easy to say, and some of you are basing your potential right now of saying, if I took more action, I would have better results. And if I said that to everyone right now, hey, just work harder, do more of the things that you know that you're supposed to do. Go take a class, learn how to do stuff that you don't know how to do right now, learn how to be a better salesperson or whatever. You'd say, if I took more action, I'm going to get better results. But here's the funny thing about this is that but what's the thing that's actually keeping people from taking action? Well, here's the thing is that when people have results always influence belief. And this is the game changer difference for Michael Jordan and every other professional athlete. And this is why he's the greatest. This is the difference maker of business people, of coaches, all of these people. If you'll get this, you're going to understand this. Because here's what happens. This works in favor of you or it works against you. And here's how. It's not simply that Michael Jordan took action. It's not simply that business people took action and then achieved a result and that gave them confidence. That's really not what it is, because here's what happens for most people. A lot of people only take action based on what they actually believe. Your belief influences the action that you take in your life. So what I see with coaches who are mediocre in terms of their success, because it's never, here's what I find with coaches. It is never on the action end. It is never an issue of skill. It's never an issue of personality type. It's never an issue of where you live. It's actually not an issue about whether or not you can sell. It's not an issue of whether or not you, all of this stuff. See, all of this stuff is when coaches think that the result, the success that they're getting is based on these things, you know what we're really talking about? We're talking about limiting beliefs. When a coach has made up their mind, when any individual has made up their mind that their skills are limited, that their resources are limited, that they don't have enough money to do something, that they don't have enough skill to do something, or any of those other kinds of things. When this weighs heavy, what this ends up becoming in and of itself is it could be an excuse, or at the very least, it's going to be a limiting belief. And you know what it does? Is it informs the action. I would say this about business. It's about the success of a coach and success of a coaching practice is about 15% of what you do. It's the action. I know people who are terrible coaches that are killing it in their coaching practice. Why? Because it's not simply about skill. It's not simply about those kinds of things. What I will say about the people who are crushing it in sports, in business, coaches who are crushing it, have a superior psychology. They just have different beliefs. They operate very differently than other people do. What do I really mean by that? Well, when I watched Michael Jordan, he thought very differently about the game than everybody else that I saw on there. He played games when he was sick. They showed one of the games last night. It was the first time they played the Utah Jazz. They're playing in the championship. Okay. So they're playing for the world championship. He had gone to bed. He was in Salt Lake City. He had gone to bed that night, but he was really hungry in the middle of the night. They found one pizza place that was open, and these guys, like 5 people from the pizza place, come to deliver the pizza. It was a very strange scenario. He ends up getting sick, and he is up all night sick from the pizza. They don't know if he was poisoned or it was simply because the thing is that usually when you have food poisoning, it happens in about 24 hours. It doesn't happen within like an hour or something like that. So he's terribly sick. He can barely stand. He was in bed. He didn't do any shoot around or whatever. He comes out and he crushes it in the game, hits the game winner, all of that other stuff. And what was it that enabled him to even rise above physical inabilities? It's the psychology that he had going on. It's the belief, it's the thought, and everything else. But here's why most coaches and most individuals take themselves out of the game and don't meet up to the potential that they want. It's because when you have a limited belief, when you have a limited thought about yourself, when you think that you have limited skill, when you have limited ability, people aren't going to like me. I don't know that I can help people. All of this other stuff. What does it do? When you have a limited belief, what are you going to have? You're going to have a limited action every time. And when you have a limited action, what kind of a result are you going to get? Are we following the logic here? You're going to have a limited result every time. And here's what happens. And this is what kills professional athletes who, when they have a bad result, what ends up happening is that it becomes a belief. It reinforces the belief. So I will watch coaches all the time. Now, I've worked with thousands of coaches. You guys have to know that we are you don't already know, we're the largest life coach training program in North America. I've literally worked with thousands of coaches. I've worked with thousands of clients. I've worked with, and when I say thousands of coaches, we're talking 10,000s of coaches at this point. I consistently see coaches who start out, they're like, oh yeah, we're going to go do this. And because one of the things that you control when you know that you're smart enough is to go to class, is to go online and to study and to take an exam. And that's about the degree of control that a lot of coaches believe that they have in their life. Because it's an environment where it's like, I can thrive here, I can study, I can pass this exam, I can work really hard on that. But where I'll see coaches always stop is when it comes to the action with regard to their business and getting started and everything else. So because I see this, I had a coach that was in town, spent some time with me just a couple of months ago, and I know that he has a local chapter of a major professional organization. I will leave them nameless, okay? But it's probably a professional organization that I don't have to say because you probably know what it is. And he is over one of the local chapters. I said, tell me the success rate of the people who came out of that, because I know that they spent thousands upon thousands on their training certification. And he told me that most of those guys don't have clients. Most of those people, it's barely a side hustle, and they are thousands of dollars in debt as a result of going after this thing. What is it? They believed in the academic realm that they had some kind of control and they had some kind of a force that they probably couldn't fail. But when it came to actually doing the things that they needed to do to succeed as a coach, they found that the belief systems are cropping up there. I mean, imagine you want to go help the world, but you can't bring yourself to take the action that you need to take in your life. So the difference, if you see in this, the difference between someone who is thriving and someone who is struggling, it is the exact same pattern. Michael Jordan had this same pattern as a professional athlete. Every business person that you can think of, the Richard Bransons or any of these other kinds of people who are out there in the world, Oprah, anybody that you can think of, has this exact same pattern that is functioning in their life. The reality of it is that the people that you see that are thriving are not just taking control here. A lot of us are like, yeah, well, if I made $1 million, then I'd have a heck of a lot of confidence to go do something. No, they don't really. Here's the reality. No one has control over results, right? And I would say that people do have control over their action, right? Well, they just work harder. They do more, whatever. They have skill or whatever. Well, they do have control over action. But what it really comes down to, what's the difference maker for everyone, is really what do they believe? Because if you want consistent action in your life, because this is what I see coaches who take the initial step, seem to work really hard, passionate, excited, everything else. They are out of the game in like 90 days. Why 90 days? Because 90 days is usually when I'll see people's self sabotaging cycle pop up in their life. Usually they can fake themselves into taking some action, or at least things that feel like action. Just, hey, I'm going to keep going to workshops, and that's fine. I appreciate people going to workshops. I appreciate people going to ongoing training and everything else. But sometimes it's a procrastination tool. Keeps people from doing the things that they are afraid of doing. And so what ends up happening is that if a coach does not take decisive business action in their life, doing the right kinds of things, what they end up doing is that they let this old story about themselves. Well, I've never been successful. I've never made six figures in my life. I've never been successful at helping people. No one would listen to me. Whatever that story is what is actually affecting the potential every time. And so this belief is going to make you withdraw. It's going to make you not take decisive action. Or in decisive action is one part. I showed you that a couple of weeks ago. That decisive action means that you have cut off anything else besides what you need to do. You've killed every other option except there's one option. I'm going after this thing. I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to start this business. There are no other options. When you have taken that decisive role, that puts you into this realm. When you've made a belief decision and you've taken action, ultimately the results are going to show that. They can't help but to follow the belief and the action. The people who do not have a strong psychology, that have not worked at these limiting beliefs, will always be impacted by results and action. Because here's what you'll see is that people who have limited action and they half go at it, they half-heartedly go at things, see half of the results. They see a portion of the results. And you know what they say? That's exactly like I thought. See, I knew that I couldn't be a six-figure coach. Maybe you can, Paul, but that's just not for me. We've struggled our whole life, and you can name a bunch of different things. You can give me a list. You can tell me a whole story. I've had clients that have tried to tell me their story. I tell our coaches all the time, don't believe the story of your clients. If you start believing their story, then you can't help them. But we've got to assume, for the most part, that all clients lie. You've probably never heard of anybody say that, but clients will lie to you because they have been so obsessed in that story and those old beliefs that there's no way that they can actually do what they want to do. So the best thing that we could do is not agree with them and not believe the lie that they've been telling themselves. Expose it, crush it. We've got to have a game change in this. So how do you actually change this in your life, and how do you get to this? Well, you know what? Beliefs are not hidden things. It doesn't start with action, though I believe that action is incredibly important. Action follows belief every time. What does this mean? It means that every day, knowing what I know about my beliefs, I have to ask the question, what is it then? What is it that I believe about myself that is keeping me from having what I want, from being fully manifested, from having my potential? That's why when I look at this and people are like, hey, I know that I'm only living at 50 or 60% of my potential, it's not because you might have a lack of action, but your lack of action is a lack of belief. What is it that you believe that's making you withdraw, that's making you withhold? If you will go to that place, if you will obliterate that belief system. And I could probably spend about another 30 minutes to show you how to do that. But here's what I'll say. I've got videos even on this page that you can go back to where I literally show you how, if you can bring enough doubt to any kind of belief system and wreck that thing and replace it with a new belief, you know what you have? You have new action. The only way that you can change this thing is to change it right here. Because if you will have certainty in your heart about your decision, about your belief, That's what makes someone powerful in a time that's uncertain, is someone who is certain, because everyone will look to them. And the people who will create. Now, how can anything be really certain? Well, the way that I show up every day can be certain. Regardless of anything that happens in the world, I can be unchanging. You can be unchanging. The reality is that we just allow everything that's around us to influence us all the time, and to keep reinforcing a bad belief system. Because today you can find a billion sources online or friends that will reinforce your bad beliefs and reinforce your low threshold of potential. Or you can start surrounding yourself with people who crush it, who think differently than everyone else. Even if you have to find those sources online, you have to cultivate that atmosphere in your life every day. And you have to create certainty. Because one of the things that I would always see with Michael Jordan, every time they would interview him in these things, he would keep saying, I knew we were going to win. He would tell the people when he got up there in a press conference, we're going to win. This series is done today. He would find some kind of thing that happened, and he would take note of it, and it would initiate something in him that made him want to win. And the guy always wanted to win. They'd show him playing cards on the plane. They'd show him playing games in the hallway, like just goofy games that shouldn't matter. And he wanted to win, and he had such a will to win, because he just decided, like, hey, we're going to win. There are no other options. We're crushing every other kind of option that's out there. There is one option, and it's to win. And I want you guys to say, there is no other option except that I'm going to come and maximize my potential and whatever it is in your life. Starting a business, getting certified as a coach, wherever you are in that process right now, that you would actually make that kind of commitment in your life, because you're unstoppable once that certainty comes in your heart. This is where you change everything. This is the separation from the people who are crushing it and where we're living right now. And we have control over this. You may not have control over results to start, but you have control of what you believe. And a good psychology is always going to crush it, always going to rise above the rest. Let me pay the bills really quick, and then we are going to, whoa, I guess we won't be paying the bills. I thought we were going to be paying the bills. What is going on here? Why are you not there? Usually we're good, but I don't see what's happening exactly. Like for some reason, we don't have any. We had it a while ago. All right, so let me tell you this. Oh, wait, I think we're coming back. All right, there we are. So if you've never gotten certified and trained as a coach, we are the largest life coach training program in North America. We're fully online. We're on demand. Why are we affordable? Because we've taken all of what we do in terms of training and we've put it in an online self-paced format. So you have access to this right now. You're literally minutes away from beginning to get trained and certified as a coach. And so the life coach certification course is $195. It's 10 online modules. You go through the videos, you take the exam, you pass the exam, and you've earned your credential as a coach. Usually takes about 30 hours or fewer for someone to go through the training and get certified. We have some coaches who knock it out in a week, some who will work a little bit more deliberately, and they might take a month or two or something like that. That's actually up to your control. And right now in this season, you actually have more time than you probably thought you'd ever have to transform your life and build in some of the skills and things for the next season to be successful. But we also have a Jumpstart program, and Jumpstart's our business development roadmap. It includes a life coach certification course. So this is kind of like an either or. You don't buy both. Jumpstart's is $97 a month. It includes a 20-module business development roadmap. It's the A to Z on how to get your business started. How do you discover your target market? How do you discover your niche? How do you sell? How do you create multiple streams of income? Because for some of you who believe that it's just one-on-one clients, our coaches were showing them how to create multiple streams of income in their business. We have a weekly group coaching call every Wednesday where we go live and I answer every coaching related question, every business related question to make sure that you don't get stuck, because sometimes new coaches have trouble with their clients. And so we help them process some of those skills and everything else. Last week, we spent a lot of time talking about branding or whatever. Wherever you have the struggle from going the next level, wherever you're confused or you need more information or whatever, we do that so that you have ongoing gains and you don't get stuck. You can submit the stuff that you're working on to get feedback. You can role play with other coaches. It's an incredible community of supportive people who are all celebrating each other's success. And again, it's $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. If you think that $97 a month is a lot of money, this is what's standing in the way of your potential right now. Because if $97 a month, which is literally, if $3.25 a month, a day, is standing between you and maximizing your potential and doing what you really want, then we've got bigger problems. Like that's way below minimum wage. Like that's less than an hour's work a day. If you were doing minimum wage in any state, and actually in like California, I think what's our minimum wage is much higher, but we're talking about 20 minutes of work a day and no one's building a 6-figure business like that. Now, here's one more thing that I want to tell you about that we have coming up, and we'll have more information coming up about it. But we do have another boot camp coming up at the end of the month. It's if you join Jumpstart at the full price, which is $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment, you can be a part of the boot camp that we're doing at the end of the month. It's May 29th through the 31st. It's about 20 hours of live training. And so we go through, it's not just what you get in the life coach certification course, because it's about 20 hours worth of content that is not in the life coach certification course. You get the life coach certification course in the boot camp. You get all of these hours of training. You get to either demo people role playing, or you get to role play yourself during that time. And what we do is that you walk out after one weekend and you're trained and certified as a coach. So you have a couple of different options. You can go life coach certification course, which is $195, get trained and certified online, and you're done. Okay. Or you could do Jumpstart, which is only $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment, and it includes the boot camp, so that you can refine your skills and all of those other kinds of things. Or you can just do the boot camp. It's $247. You're going to knock all your training and certification out in one weekend. It's going to be dynamic and it's going to blow your mind. And we have extraordinary testimonials that we're still getting out of the boot camp that we did last month. And it's fully online, and it's a Friday night and it's a Saturday and Sunday, and you're done. So with all of that said, let me look really quickly at any kind of questions that I see in here. Let's see. There's Santos, and welcome, Santos. Santos says imagination constipation. There we go. Okay. Todd says self-image is the key. It drives belief. And Todd says, yep, that 90 days. All right, cool. Let's see. Desiree says, I love that your beliefs represent your action. Absolutely. Crystal says true change is important. Absolutely. Santos says Paul has tapped into 7th reservoirs. Okay. Awesome. Any questions before we head out for the day? Getting ready to just head out for the day. But I hope today was really inspiring. Both links to the Jumpstart program and to the boot camp are in the description of this video. So you can click on that. But do me a huge favor, like this post, share it with people. That tells Facebook that we're doing a good job. And that's how that Facebook algorithm actually works. But I want to give you about 30 seconds. If you got any other questions that you have for today that I can answer for you, I would love to do that. And if you don't, then we will just head out for the day. Todd says, thank you. You are welcome, Todd. Awesome. Todd says, I totally recommend Jumpstart. I appreciate that. Any other questions before we head out for the day? Give it about 15 more seconds. All right. Well, we'll close with this one more time. The link is in the description right now, where you can find more information about Jumpstart. Get enrolled today. Get rolling. Start maximizing your potential today. You can absolutely do it today. Or if you just want to find out more information about it, those links, again, are both in the description. Listen, I appreciate you guys a ton. Santos says, do you do live training in SD? No. All our live training is fully online and on demand. So we're not, one of the reasons why we quit doing live in-person training was because of facility charges and everything else. And that's why most training costs thousands of dollars, because I would not go do live training in a facility knowing everything that it costs to do that. I wouldn't do that without charging people a couple of $1,000s a piece to do something like that. But because we're in our studio and we're doing it live there, it lowers the price point for everybody to be able to get on. That's why it's only $247 to be able to do the online coaching boot camp. So that's what I would encourage you to look for if you're interested in going through that with us. So cool. Sabello says, thanks a lot, Paul. That was great. Bill says, thank you. All right. You are welcome, everyone. Listen, I appreciate you guys all a ton. Have a great rest of your week and take care.